I am speaking with CMT artist, singer-songwriter Ashley Wineland. Hi, Ashley, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. And before we get into this, for my listeners, why don't you explain to them what is a CMT artist and what was the process for doing that?
So basically, to be a CMT artist means that your music as well as your videos are verified by the Country Music Television Network to be played on their website as well as on their television show. And kind of the process of going through that is it changes all the time, but I know for sure that you have to have very specific, very high quality content, music and video wise. And when you submit, you have to go through the music, I should say, has to go through a council, and they're very selective about who they let on, and they have to approve it before you can be certified as an official CMT artist.
You're originally from Glendale, Arizona. You have a brand new single out. She is gone. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But Glendale, Arizona, it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I kind of think when I think of country music, I think of Nashville. I think of Texas, places like that. But I don't necessarily think of Arizona.
Yeah, surprisingly, Arizona actually has a very strong and very active country music community here, especially when it comes to very dancing like music. We have a very strong Western swing kind of dance scene out here too. So pairing that up with all the country music festivals and whatnot out here, it's actually a really great place for people who love country music.
Another thing that I think kind of odd is that before you got into music there in Glendale, Arizona, you were a competitive figure skater.
Yeah, that was actually the dream before I found, my deep passion for music. And
I mean, it's
um,
another thing we don't think of Arizona as having ice skating rinks. You know,
yeah, well, it's funny because it's actually the best place to be when it's, 120 degrees in the summer. So I really picked the right sport as a child. My
that
parents
does
were
make
appreciative
sense.
of that.
Yeah,
They weren't the ones sitting out there in the 120-degree heat for soccer games or anything
yeah.
like that. They were appreciative of that as I was growing up.
When did you realize that this is what you wanted to do?
It's one of those things where it just kind of like a snowball effect and like really just hit me around middle school, to be completely honest. Looking back on it, I can really like look at how growing up, singing at family karaoke parties and ice skating and loving the performance element of that, as well as starting my musical education when I was like 8, through school and everything like that, and all those little moments building up to the point where like I said, I was heading into middle school and started really kind of exploring that whole world of music, and realizing that, hey, being a performer, being a singer songwriter opens up the doors for me to be able to pursue multiple passions of mine. That was always kind of the big thing. Especially growing up, was, what career would I even want? Because I'm so multi-passionate, and music just happened to be the one thing that I was like, wow, I can get creative and encompass all the things that I love and be able to do them all through music. So really that was kind of how I came into music and really what started my love for it.
Well, your dad really supported you in this, didn't he? I mean, he got you some recording time in the studio when you were 13 for your birthday.
Yeah, and I mean, really, like that was probably like the most solid moment was when my parents got me that time in the studio, and I just went in to cut some of my favorite covers and just kind of see what it was like to be in the studio. Because obviously, like I said, around that time, I had really started expressing interest in, pursuing music as a career option, and really just being in there and the whole experience of, recording and hearing how things are mixed in the studio and all that really just like solidified for me, like, yeah, this is what I want to do with my life. And then luckily, after that, I was able to meet my wonderful producer and really my mentor. I always joke and call him the Yoda to my Luke Skywalker, Brian Cuban. who really took me under his wing and showed me, this is what it means to be a singer-songwriter, and this is what it's like to work in the studio and make an album. And I'm so grateful that he took me in as, this little 13-year-old girl and has worked with me ever since.
How did he find you, or how did you find him?
It's actually kind of funny. We met through a family friend. It was his birthday, actually, and they were playing a show, his band Mogion, up at Lake Pleasant, which is a frequent watering hole for me, especially growing up. And I met the guitarist at the time who was in the band, and he was like, well, our bassist actually works with youthful talent like yourself and does producing and everything, so I'll give him this demo CD that you cut. That was the gift that my
Hmm.
parents had given me, and he goes, and I'll hand it on to him, and if he would like to work with you, like, he'll call you and let you know. And thankfully, he listened to the CD. He told me all the way home from that show that night, and he was like, man, I have to work with her. And so he called me up the next day, and it's been a grateful and just really awesome partnership since.
You grew up listening to classic country music. I believe your favorite classic artist is Dolly Parton. And how does that translate into the way you write a song?
Yeah, so like you said, I definitely grew up on what we now call, more traditional countries, the Dolly Parton and
Right.
Johnny Cash and all those greats. And really, the key element of all those, singer and songwriters is that they always told stories with their music. And that's something that is so incredibly important to me. And it carries through every single one of my songs, especially this new one that we're going to talk about today, She's
Hmm.
Gone. They have really strong storytelling elements, and to me, that's the most important part. That's what I really love about country music above all other genres, is that it's so story heavy and that it takes you on a journey. And to me, if you end up feeling something, if you end up visualizing a place or a scenario while you're listening to some of my songs, like, did my job well done.
Hmm. You first came on the scene with your song "Red, White, and Blue," honoring the men and women serving in the United States Armed Forces. Racked up over 50,000 hits on your YouTube channel. Is that when you knew that this is something that you definitely want to do?
Oh, of course. It was really a really strong and really happy moment for me when that video hit 50,000 views, just primarily because, especially at that time, I was an up and coming, just brand spanking new independent artist. Obviously now I have such a really strong following on social media with over, 100,000 followers across all my social media platforms and stuff. But having that moment as a new up and comer, it really like gave me the hope and the belief that, like, yes, if I work hard enough for this, I will be able to go and do anything. And the fun part about that video was that it was all filmed in Arizona. Actually, all my music videos thus far have been filmed in Arizona.
Yay,
Red, White, and
Arizona!
Blue, No Prince Charming, and She's Gone. We're all filmed here, and you know
Arizona Tourist Bureau is listening to this right now.
Yeah, no. But to have such a strong backing from, my home state is just really wonderful. And then to expand and be able to share all that with people from all over the world now is just really incredible.
Your your debut CD, I'm sorry, was a family business, but you're really well known for your live performances. And there's quite a transition from going to uh, recording in the studio to playing live. And how do you make that transition?
I mean, like you said, it's kind of a weird transition. I definitely prefer being live than being in the studio, even though both are extremely fun and have their own different things about them that just make it a really unique and really enjoyable experience. But that transition over there, it was kind of a rough one. When you're new, no one really tells you like what to do. So it's a
Mhm.
lot of like trial and error, which seems to be the case for a lot of things in entertainment, is just finding things out by trial and error. But,
Well, that's life,
being,
isn't it?
yeah, really. But being up on stage and stuff, I really had to learn, actually, you talk really fast and in a really high pitched voice when when your adrenaline gets going and you're up on stage and no one can understand what you're saying in between, songs. So I had to learn how to like really calm myself down on stage, just really get comfortable into my own skin, which is just the most important thing overall for any entertainer, to be completely honest, is just to be extremely comfortable and, just realizing that, hey, you're not doing anything like extremely crazy. You're up here on a stage singing songs for people who enjoy the same type of music as you do. So just talk to them and sing to them like every single one of them, like they're your best friends, and it's no big deal. And like I said, that feeling and that comfortableness came with time, but I'm really, really grateful for all the learning experiences that I've been through. And nowadays, going up on stage isn't a big deal.
When you tour, do you pretty much take the same cats along with you as your band?
I do. I four other incredible musicians. My drummer Nick Sanderson, he's been with me since the very beginning. 4 years strong, actually, this month, and he's just been absolutely wonderful. And then, of course, all the other members of my band are fairly recent additions. My bassist Jacob Johnston's been with us for a little over a year now, and my fiddle player Whitney Mead and my lead guitarist Ty Thompson actually joined us back in probably, I want to say like July, August time of last year. So, but we're a really tight group, and I'm very thankful to have all of them with me when we go out on the road.
Let's talk about this new single, "She Is Gone," written by Mickey Daniels. How did she approach you with the song? How did you find the song? And what was the process when you guys got into recording it and produce this thing?
Yeah, so Mickey had actually worked with my producer Brian Cuban on a previous project of hers, and I had met her through her time she spent here in Arizona recording that project. And so when her latest project came out, which had She's Gone on it, came out, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to do some of my songs?" I was like, "Well, I'll listen to a few of them and see which one I like." This song really just stood out to me with such a strong message, and just the overall feel of it. I was like, I have to do something with this and really make it my own. So from there, after getting, of course, the A-OK from her that we were good to do this song, I went through and did a lot of arrangement work with Brian, and really just tried to make it fit to what I was feeling when I heard the song and when I sang it, as well as making it overall that storytelling experience, that journey. I wanted people to visualize exactly what I was feeling. So the studio process was long because there was a lot of things that I wanted this song to encompass. But like I always say, my team has been so wonderful, and everyone puts in 110% of themselves into everything that we do. So with that being said, I'm so very happy with how this project turned out, and I'm very excited to be here today sharing it with you.
How do you adapt somebody else's song to what you do?
So, sometimes that means a changing of lyrics for this song. Like I said, it was heavily, in the arrangement because I loved the words and just the way the message was presented. And the message really is, you have to appreciate people, while they're here, because you never know when they might, be gone, if you're ever going to see them again. Uh, so I really wanted to carry out. Mickey is a Western swing singer-songwriter, so I wanted those themes to still be in there, but I wanted it to have the passion and drive that I felt while I was singing this song in it. So it's just a lot of, little minute details of changing things the way you want and making them fit your voice. And, like we changed the key of this song. If you listen to her version and mine, you can tell they're very two different entities, but they are the same song. They're the same and they're not. It's kind of weird to explain it. But it really is just that artistic, touch to it that
It
really
has to start.
changes a
It
song.
has to fit your personality, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's probably the most important thing is whenever you take on somebody, somebody else's song, which, this is the only song that I've ever done thus far that is somebody
Hmm.
else's work. It's one of those things where it still needs to be you because you're the one who's singing it, you're the one who's performing it at all your shows. If it doesn't reflect you, people are going to be able to tell because it's going to stick out like a sore thumb
Right.
from all the rest of your originals,
Well, you have
you
to
know.
believe
So,
in it,
oh, of course. And I
right?
mean, that
You know,
goes for any song. If you don't believe in the message, if it doesn't speak to you, how in the world are you supposed to make other people, feel the message of that song as well?
you're very active with veterans groups as well as animal rights, and I'm kind of wondering because you are very active. How do you find time to do what you do?
It's a fine balance. Anyone who knows me will tell you I have a very thick planner, and it is my life in a book. I'm not even kidding. And a lot of it requires me to really block out time. Obviously, as much as I wish to be, I'm not Superwoman, nor do I have the ability to warp time to my liking. So I can't do everything that I want to do in a day. But, especially growing up in music and going through high school, trying to build my career and everything, I learned the hard way how to be very time conscious and very good at time management. So it's really one of those things where you have to balance out, what's important to you, how much time can you dedicate to it, and really make it work with everything that you're doing. And that's kind of the fun part about music is that, even though, yes, primarily my job is to sing and write music for everybody and to perform it live, I also have the ability to go out and do advocacy work for, like you said, animal rights and, supporting our veterans and everything like that. So, like when I mentioned earlier that I wanted a career where I could pursue multiple passions of mine, this really, once you get creative with it, this career really can support multiple passions in one.
You've taken kind of the Taylor Swift approach to engaging with your fans. You speak to each and every one of them, so that adds more time as well and more pressure on you. How do you do that as well as everything else?
Yeah, I mean that's a really great comparison is the Taylor Swift approach to engaging people. It's honestly one of my all-time favorite things about being a musician is being able to meet new people, especially through social media and connect with them even if I've never met them in person. It's crazy the amount of people I can tell you almost their whole life stories about and yet be like, but I've never seen them in person. It's crazy that people, just through watching, my Friday broadcast that I do every week on Facebook, that they can become so comfortable with me and with the other people in the comments to, be able to share special parts about their lives, with everyone. And even sometimes the hard ones. I have so many people message me, hey, like, so and so just passed away, or, I'm going through a really tough time. I just, lost my job and, all that crazy stuff. But your music brings a smile to my face. And honestly, it's the most rewarding thing I think as any artist, of any type can tell you to be able to hear something like that from somebody is just incredible. And so, taking the time after a broadcast, which ends up being like, 2, 3, sometimes 4, depending on the day, hours of my time to sit down and go through every single comment, reply back to them, and go through all my private messages and my tweets and stuff to talk to these people, it's worth it in the end to me.
Well, in that vein of thought, because there are young artists that will be listening to this show, and for those that are trying to be successful in this business, what advice would you give them?
Well, one, first things first, while we're talking about, connecting with people and all that fun stuff, is always be genuine to who you are and who you're branding yourself to be. People will know if you're fake, if you're putting on some act, if you're not truly presenting yourself as who you really are, when no one's watching. I think it's so important to be so genuine with everyone around you, especially in such a very saturated industry where, on the outside, there's like 100 other people who sing like you, who might look like you. It's so hard to try to be original, and the only way you can do that is by being true to yourself. So always keep in mind that being genuine and being honest with the people who you're trying to connect with through music is always the foremost and most important thing. And then on top of that, do your homework. Don't be discouraged if things don't, come your way. It takes a lot of time, to learn all the tricks of the trade. And I mean, honestly, I feel like you might never learn all of them, but
Well,
you can get pretty
there's a
close.
difference between the music business and the business of music, isn't there?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, especially as an independent artist, you have to be able to wear both hats. You have to be able to wear the creative hat and, make really great music. But then on the other hand, you're the one who's running your career. And at the end of the day, music is a business. You're making money off of it. Other people are making money off of it. So you have to be smart about, who's out there, what certain lingo means and stuff, because you're the one who's this is your career. It's in your hands. So, always make sure that you do your homework so you don't accidentally end up, making decisions that are actually going to hurt you in the end instead of help you.
As an independent artist, how do you define success?
Personally, for me, success, especially as an independent artist, is really hanging on to every, even if it seems so small, victory that you can. Whether it's, hey, I reached a milestone on social media and hit a certain amount of, likes or followers, or hey, I got, a company that I'm trying to, pursue as a sponsor to share some of my content on their Facebook page, or, anything like that. As an independent artist, success, you have to cling on to the smallest of victories and build from there. That's your fuel to keep going. If you only look at the big things, like, yeah, I got to open for a really cool artist, and that's like your only, big milestone moment that you hang on to, you're going to get discouraged so easily. So success is being able to look at every single thing going on, even if you feel like you're not going anywhere, and realize that even the smallest of baby steps, are still pushing you forward. And as long as you know that you're still going forward, that's success.
I know that you're out right now promoting your latest single, "She Is Gone." But what's up next for Ashley Wineland?
So we're actually going on tour this May, which I'm so excited about. We start in North Carolina, actually at one of my all-time favorite venues, the Tin Roof, which is in Charlotte. And we kind of
Oh,
make
cool. I
our
know people there.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Yeah, no. So we're going to be making our rounds through the Carolinas and working our way back, through the South on our way home back to Arizona. So we're very excited to see everyone else on the road. While we're on tour, just before we head out, actually, I'll be getting my album, Simple Life, done. That'll be all nice and pressed and ready for everyone to buy
You have a
while we're
release
out
date
on the
on that?
road. As of right now, no, but I actually earlier today went through a mixing session, pardon me for my lack of ability to speak, um, and was, helping Brian, tweak the sound and, really listening to every single part. So those will all be mixed and mastered within, the next week or so, and then we'll send them all off to go get pressed into CDs. So it's coming very soon. Just keep that in mind.
Very cool. Latest single from Ashley Wineland is called "She Is Gone." And for my listeners, where can they find out more about you?
So the best place where you can find all the information about me as well as my social media links is actually my website, ashleywineland.com.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Excellent.